Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. It's Tia here. If you are new, please like and subscribe. And for today's video, I'm going to be telling you about my bad management experiences at all of my previous jobs. Basically, I started working when I was 17, I think, and I feel like, I don't know, some people say that's too late or too early. They'll be like, I've been working since I was 15, blah, blah, blah. But I was fortunate enough to have parents who didn't really like force me to work. They didn't force me to get a job. They were like, as long as I'm doing well in school and kept up with my grades, they truly did not even care what I was doing. Okay, so pretty much, I got my first job at Rite Aid. I don't even think I did a video about working at Rite Aid because that job was just boring as hell. Not really a lot of complaints because it was my first job, so I didn't like have any high expectations or anything. My manager there was this old man. I feel like the only complaint I kind of had with him was that he just didn't talk that much. He was low-key rude, but apparently he had been working at Rite Aid since he was like 17 or whatever, like before it was actually called Rite Aid. And you know, keep in mind he's probably like 85 now at this point, but he was just like kind of like strict with things and how they were done. So it's like, even though I just started working there, he was kind of like hard on me, I guess, because he had a specific way that he had been doing things for years and years and years. Or maybe he was just one of those old people who didn't really like care for younger people that much, and they're like, oh, you know, young people, they're so rebellious and never listen, blah blah blah. I don't know if that's just how he was, but he just seemed like that kind of grouchy old man vibes. Like I didn't really talk to him that much, actually. Like he was just nonchalant, I feel like. The next job I had was basically this warehouse, and it was like slave labor type stuff, and I don't even know if I did a video on that one. Yeah, I'll probably gotta do that one. But my boss there was also an old grumpy white man, and the thing is, he wasn't necessarily grumpy at times. He would kind of like switch up, but like half the times he would be super excited and like happy, in a good mood. The other times, like his age would come out and then he would get grumpy. My opinion, I felt like he was low-key racist because we did have like some black kids working there, including me. So he would always be telling us to like, you know, sweep up at the end of the shift, you know, like wipe the tables, clean everything. But then you have like the rich white kids, they would just kind of be sitting there doing nothing, and he would never like yell at them or tell them to like do anything else, you know. He also made like weird comments because it's like a warehouse type job, right? So you don't need like any official like training or whatever to work there. So he literally had a whole bunch of kids working there, and by kids I mean like 15-year-olds, bro. Like I don't even know if that's legal for them to work. Like I remember one girl saying that she needed like some paperwork in order to work there since she was like underage or whatever. So there was like some rich white kids who were forced to be there. There were some other like younger kids, and then there was me, and then there was a whole bunch of like Filipino people, right? Half of them couldn't speak English, so like, you know, some of them were undocumented, blah blah blah. So I remember he would tell me that he likes Filipinos, or I guess like minorities in general, because they know how to get to work. They know how to work. Like that's what he kept saying to me, and I'm like, what do you mean by that? And he was like, well, you see over there, and then he pointed to like the rich white kids. He's like, yeah, see these kids, they like sit down, they gotta wait for me to tell them what to do. But the Filipinos, they just get moving and get going, and they know what to do. They do one thing after the other, they keep moving, they're never sitting down. And I'm like, interesting. So you're just excited to have good slaves working for you. Okay, whatever. And like I kind of was like overworked by him, because I feel like whenever I get to a new job, I'm always the type of person where I'm like doing the most, and I'm just like a naturally like fast-paced person. I'm a natural hard worker. Next thing you know, I was doing the work of 2 people, right? Because I just go really fast. So he would put all the like expectations on me in order to finish the workload and all that stuff. And then I remember there was a day where this guy requested to go on vacation for 2 weeks because, you know, he was going like out of town or whatever. So the boss was like, okay, sure, you can go on vacation, because that was like one of the rich white kids that was lazy and didn't do anything, right? And then when I asked to go on vacation for 2 weeks, he was like, what? Are you kidding me? You can't leave for 2 weeks. Are you serious? Like, he thought it was like mind-blowing information that I was telling him that I have a trip or whatever. And he was like, no, we can't lose you, you know, you do a lot around here. So pretty much, if you are a hard worker at any type of job, like, they just don't expect you to take days off because you are carrying most of the workload or whatever. So that was kind of ridiculous to me. Apparently he would also like time us when we went to the bathroom, because you know how like young people, we go in the bathrooms and we like sit on our phones or whatever, like while we're using the bathroom or whatever. So he would time us, and apparently we were taking too long in there. Whole time the white kids were doing the same thing. So we just all came to the conclusion that he was racist, or low-key racist, whatever you want to call it. He had something wrong with him. Okay, the next job that I worked at was Dollar Tree. So Dollar Tree was probably one of the most annoying jobs, I feel like. Probably like the most annoying job that I've ever had. It is like an entry-level job, like literally for like high schoolers or like whatever, fresh out of college, if you just need somewhere to work. So my Dollar Tree was always hiring. Okay, so I walk in, I apply, and the first thing I see is like a manager. She has like rainbow hair or whatever. She has gauges, and I'm thinking like, oh, that's cool. Like, at least there's like some young people here. You know, it's not just like the old people that I've seen. And once again, my boss was an old white man, and I'm thinking like, damn, like they just be running shit. Like, damn, you know, good for them, I guess. So later on, I find out that the old white man, he only hired women, which was extremely creepy to me, because you know how old men are. They just be saying shit. Okay, so I remember one time I was standing there with one of my coworkers. We were having a discussion or whatever, and the boss came up to us and he was like, oh, what are y'all doing? Y'all making out? Like, get back to work. And we were just like, why would he say that? First of all. Second of all, we weren't even standing that close to each other. So I'm thinking like, where did he get that from? You know, so that was like a really creepy comment. But Dollar Tree, they don't have like an HR or whatever. Like, I guess I could have like called corporate to complain about him, but I think he was like also another one of them that have worked at that company for like 50-60 years. So it's not like they're gonna fire him, right? So I'm thinking like, damn, that's interesting. He also was like super like lazy, I guess. Like, he would give his responsibilities to us, and I'm thinking like, dang, that's interesting. And even during like my hiring process, like when we have to like do our little tax forms, the W-2s, and we had to make passwords for our accounts and all that, he was typing all of my information in. Like, you know how sometimes they leave you in the office by yourself and then you fill it out yourself? He was there and he was the one typing it. And I'm there like verbally telling him like what I want my password to be for my Dollar Tree account or whatever. And like, so that was also weird. I don't think he was supposed to do that. And then I had this other manager there. I literally called her the strict manager, because whenever I work at these jobs, I always give my coworkers and my managers, I give them nicknames, right? So I called her the strict manager, and she was basically the type, like, I don't know if she had ADHD or she's just one of those like active people that needs to be doing something at all times, but she was literally running around the store, picking up like stuff that didn't belong, which is called the go backs or whatever. So she would bring up like a basket full of stuff that she just found around the store, and then she would bring them up to me and be like, oh, can you put these back? And I'm like, bro, you see me with a whole line of customers and you're just walking around doing nothing. Why don't you put it back? You know, like she would basically just bring us stuff to do to keep us busy. And I feel like in the beginning, when I first started, I was literally only doing the register. I was like fixing up the front area. I was like doing a little bit of sweeping here and there. And then next thing you know, I'm learning how to fill up the balloons when people want balloons. And then I'm like unloading boxes in the back. I'm unloading boxes of candy in the morning. And then the thing about her, she would bring us like a I think it's called a U-boat full of stuff or whatever, and the boxes would be like piled like maybe 5 feet high on top of there, right? And it would either be like all of the stuff in the candy aisle, or it would be like front end stuff, like, you know, the gum and the chocolate bars, blah blah blah, or it would be like actual like containers, like, you know, the containers, they put like 3 of them inside of each other, and then we had to like take them out, put the lids on, and then we had to go put them back where they belong. And I'm thinking like, dang, like, am I supposed to be doing this? Because I'm pretty sure like stocking is a manager job. Like, I don't know, this was in my job description for real. Like, maybe like the front end stuff was, but I don't think I should be assembling these plungers and these brooms and like putting them where they are or whatever. And then there would be another time where we had to close the store. The managers, like, we were supposed to sit in the office with them while they like count our drawers, and then they count the till, and then they do all the math, and then they write it down for the deposit to take to the bank or whatever. So I remember sitting in the office with her. She would be taking a whole 30 minutes to count some money, and we had like an automatic money counter. So I'm like, why are you getting this wrong? First of all, if we have a whole ass money counter, we got calculators in there, and you're struggling to count out like $400, really? So then it would get to the point where she didn't trust herself, I guess, and then she would make me recount after her. And I was like, bro, you literally missed a whole $20 bill, or you missed like this $10 bill. It was stuck underneath one of the ones, you know? So it's like, that shouldn't be my responsibility as a cashier to do it. Like, she's literally the manager. And then even like, I think it was like my first week there, I remember she went to close the store, and she was closing the doors, she was locking the doors using her keys, and she was like, how do I do this again? Like, she was like talking to herself. And I'm like, you don't know how to lock the damn store? You've been working here for like 15 years? Like, really? And after that, that's when I knew she was gonna be terrible. And it got to the point where I don't like people bossing me around when I already know how to do my job. Because if I'm just standing there, like, I could have like a whole line of customers. I could have just did 50 customers, right? And then like I'm standing there taking my break, and I'm like, oh, let me catch my breath after all these customers. And then she like would run up and be like, oh, why are you just standing here? Like, grab a broom, start sweeping. And I'm like, you don't know what the fuck I was just doing 5 minutes ago, right? So she would do like little stuff like that just to be annoying, I guess, and tell me to sweep and tell me to literally do anything. Like, if I was standing there for 2 seconds, she would not like it. So it just got to the point where I was fed up with it, and then I would just start walking around the store literally pretending to fix things, and then I would just be like on my phone or whatever. So she caught me on my phone one time, because technically we're not supposed to be on our phones. Like, I think she told me that like the other Dollar Tree has like a 0 tolerance policy for phones, because their managers are more strict over there, and like once you get 3 strikes, then you get fired or whatever. And I'm like, bitch, you ain't gonna tell me that I can't use my phone at this fucking Dollar Tree, because one, there's no customers, right? No customers in the whole store. It's like 2 minutes till close. I'm gonna be on my phone looking at the time every 5 seconds, okay? So she would basically like give me those lectures, and I'm like, bro, I'm getting paid minimum wage. I really do not care about the phone rules. So then I think she caught me on my phone like maybe like for the 5th time or whatever. Like, sometimes I don't even be on my phone. It's not like I'm actually like scrolling on Instagram or whatever. It was like I'm texting my mom back. And I would tell her that, and I'm like, I'm texting my mom back. It's either I text her back, or she's gonna come down here and yell at you for not letting me respond to her, because it might be an emergency situation or whatever. So then there was one time where I was just on my phone texting my mom back, and she came up to me. She was like she had her hand on her hip, and she was looking at me. She's like, I told you can't be on your phone, didn't I? And I was like, okay. And she was like, what are you doing? What could you possibly be doing on your phone? That's so distracting at this moment. And I was like, applying to jobs. And she was like she started panicking all of a sudden, because like I guess like they needed me, because I'm here working all the shifts, and like they struggle to hire people. So she started panicking. She was like, oh, and then she was like, oh okay, like, you know. And then she starts being nicer to me, you know. And then it got to a point where she got into a fight with one of our other managers, and then the other manager quit because of her. And then the other manager was posting stuff on like TikTok or social media, because, you know, that's what young people do. Like, we go to the internet with our problems, okay? So the girl was posting TikToks about the strict manager, and then I guess somebody from some other store sent it to the strict manager. And then the strict manager came up to me and she was like, oh, I don't know why that girl would post stuff like that. Like she was calling me a bad manager. She was saying that I'm mean. And I'm like, oh yeah, I got no clue. The whole time I'm here doing the same fucking thing, right? So I guess the strict manager thought I was on her side, because usually when it comes to these things, I'm in the middle of the situation. But like, no, I did not like her, right? So then it got to the point where I told her, I'm like, yeah, I'm about to start another job soon. Like, I guess I'll put in my, I didn't give them a 2 weeks notice. I gave them a 1 week notice. Okay, because I just did not care. You look, because you lucky I did that, right? And then of course she started panicking. She was being nice to me. And then the assistant manager position was open because the other girl quit. So she was telling me, she was like, oh, you can be assistant manager. And I was like, how much does that pay? And she was like, oh, it pays like $1 more than cashier, but you still don't get benefits. And I'm like, okay, so why the fuck would I be assistant manager if I'm only getting $1 more? And then I gotta do 10 times the work. That don't make sense. Okay, so then left that job, done dealing with her. But it's pretty funny now because I be going in there now just to pop in because I gotta buy stuff, and she be there, but I feel like she doesn't even recognize me because, you know, all black people look the same to them. After that job, I went to JCPenney, and I feel like this place was actually different than other stores because I guess like other stores mostly have like one like manager who's at the top, and then they have like assistant manager, maybe like 1 or 2 assistant managers, and then you have the coworkers or whatever. But JCPenney, the way they do it, and I'm guessing like maybe Macy's and Dillard's are the same way, but they had like a boss who ran the whole store, and then they had like I don't even know how much it was, maybe like 5 or 6 assistant managers, right? And then I guess like they all had like different names. I guess they might have gotten paid differently or whatever. So when I went there, that was a pretty interesting dynamic to see. So the boss, once again, was an older white man. And I'm thinking like, damn, like where are the black people in charge, bro? Like I'm just dying to work at a company where there's like a black woman on top of everything. But that's besides the point. So anyways, this boss or whatever, I didn't even meet him like my first day. Like I remember when it was like my first day and I was in the break room, somebody was giving me a tour or whatever, and then the boss walked right past me, and I assumed he was the boss because I'm like, oh, that's like a white man, right? And then he walked right past me, didn't say anything. So I'm thinking like, damn, you know, how the fuck you hear hiring people and you're not gonna say hi to the new hires? And then it was pretty funny too because when the newer person got hired, like after me or whatever, he was introducing himself to them. Something like, interesting, okay. And then it's like I just keep little notes of everything, but pretty much he was like the boss in charge, and I felt like I told all this stuff to his face, by the way. But I told him that like all he does is sit in his office and do nothing, and he just cares about the credit cards. He doesn't care about the employees or the customers, blah blah blah, because you know, people at the top, they just care about the numbers, they just care about their job, they don't give a fuck about us, okay? Especially because people are in and out of retail really fast, so I guess he doesn't care to like get to know us because nobody's really there for like years and years and years unless they're like a manager or whatever, getting paid more with the benefits and all that. So I already told him all that, and then I don't know, he just seems like a kind of like evil person. Like I feel like I do a pretty good job at reading people, especially like their body language and how they come across to people. He's one of those people that is like, you can't have an empathetic conversation with him, and like, you know, he just doesn't seem to care about anything, right? So then they had this other lady, she was like doing HR stuff, and I went to her for a couple of like incidences that happened in the workplace, and I feel like she kind of took them seriously, because like some people got fired or whatever after I told her about the situations. So she was decently nice. The only thing that I didn't like about her was that, you know, she made the schedule, and the schedule was sometimes like all over the place because I don't know, it was just annoying because when I get a schedule and it's like for the next 2 weeks, I do not want it to be changed like the day before or whatever, because that messes up my plans, okay? So then underneath her, they had like all these other assistant managers. Some of them, I didn't even talk to them. like actually. And I would get some of them mixed up because old white people, whatever. So I remember there was this one who people said that she was racist, and obviously, like, when I get to a job, I don't like to judge anybody. I like to make my own assumptions or whatever. So they said she was racist, and I'm like, really? Like, she's racist, but y'all got all these black people working here? That's crazy. So then I actually saw it in action, because there was one time where I guess she saw somebody was like shoplifting or whatever, and like she gets on the walkie-talkie and she's like, oh, black woman, young, with blonde braids, and she's short and black, and she's like listing off all these qualities, but she's like, black. I'm like, bro, like that could literally be me, you know? And then it happened again because I think like this one lady walked into the store, but she probably forgot her purse or something, so she walked in the store, and then she like looked confused, and then she walked out, and then she came in with like this big purse. And me personally, I don't think anything of that, because I know women be having huge ass purses, right? So then the lady, I see her gets on the radio, and she's like, oh, this black woman, young black woman with afro hair, just walked in and out the store, probably casing the joint, and you know what, came in with this big bag. And I'm like, huh? So she's like automatically assuming that people are stealing from the store. And then she would come up to me with like empty hangers with like items missing from them, I guess, and she'd be like, oh, keep an eye out for people who are stealing, like make sure you greet everybody so that way like they won't steal. And I'm like, bro, it don't matter if I greet people, they're still gonna steal. People will literally talk in front of your face, they'll make conversation with you, and they'll still walk out with like stolen stuff. So it doesn't really matter how you talk to people, they're still gonna steal if their intention was to steal. So she kind of rubbed me the wrong way, so I barely talked to her. Then there was this other manager who did not like doing her job. She was like basically mean to everybody. She would talk down to everybody, have me do her job or stuff that I was not being paid enough to do, because once again, if I'm making minimum wage, why the fuck am I gonna do a manager's job? That does not make any sense to me. So I got into it with her one time because anyone that knows me, which is nobody, I am the type of person where I will hold stuff in for like months at a time. And if I get to the point where I explode and I start yelling and cussing, because I don't even cuss like normally. So if I get to the point where I'm yelling and cussing, I was holding all that in for months. It's not just coming out of nowhere. Like, I gave you multiple breaks and chances months ago, but I'm finally letting it all out. So it got to the point where she was telling me to do this, this, and this. I'm here running around the whole store, basically, because I'm like the only one there. And then she told me, you know, to do all this stuff, and I'm trying to cover this person's break, and I'm like, how do you want me to do something out there when I'm in here covering a break? You know, it just stuff that wouldn't make sense. And then she would be like, I'm your supervisor, you have to do what I tell you to do. And I literally went off on her, and I was like, I have been doing everything you wanted for all these hours since I've been here, okay? You are acting like a bitch. You can't be telling me to do your job when I got my job to do. I'm not getting paid to do your job. I literally went off on her, bro. And then she was like, oh, so you're not obeying my orders? And I was like, no, like what the fuck? And then she was like, oh, you can go home now. So she like sent me home, even though I literally had like 20 minutes left on my shift. So all I did was like go downstairs to the bathroom, because what the fuck, I'm not gonna clock out when I got fucking 20 minutes left. So that was like really annoying. And I went to HR on her, but of course she's a manager, so even though like people complain about her, they're not gonna fire her because she's been with the company for like 25 years. So it's like, instead they just let the little people, they just let them leave, you know, and then they keep her. But apparently like 5 people have quit because of her now. So I'm like, they could just get rid of the main problem, and then maybe people would stay at the job, okay? And then they had the who else? This other manager, the one that I worked with in the beauty section, she was the worst manager ever. She was really stupid, and I think she was only with us for like a month, and she kept saying that she's gonna wait till the benefits kick in, and then she might decide to leave, blah blah blah. So I was there thinking she's gonna be there like maybe 3 months or so, but she couldn't even last 3 months, bro. Like we scared her out of the damn store at that point. But it's like, if it's to the point where 3 employees don't like you and they're all saying the same thing about you, that's pretty bad, right? So then she transfers to another JCPenney, and I guess she was probably struggling over there too, or maybe those people didn't like her over there too, and then she ended up leaving that JCPenney's too. So who the fuck knows where she's working now? But that's just karma at this point. Like, she just seems like a really evil person, and I don't trust people who do sales, because people who do sales will just lie straight to your face, and I hate fake people. You know, other people were nice, but they were just like sassy or had attitudes, so I didn't really talk to them too much. And then it's like all the managers there, they would bother you about the credit cards and stuff, and I'm thinking like, bro, like, I know they're just like doing whatever the boss tells them to do, because I guess the boss is like, bro, we need credit cards, and then the managers tell us that we need credit cards, and I'm like, I don't give a fuck about the credit cards. But yeah. And then there was this other manager, he was like the only guy working there. He was just weird. I'm not even gonna give him the time of day, but like, I don't get men who talk to young girls for fun. Like, I don't understand that whole concept. Like, I know the concept of like older men dating younger girls because they're more fresh and, I don't know, whatever, easy to manipulate or whatever. But he's like literally the most evil person I've ever met in my life. And if people knew what that man put me through, they would not be talking to him. Okay, so in my opinion, he's a weirdo who likes young girls. But anyways, who else? I don't know. I feel like they just hired a bunch of weird people, now that I think about it. There was also this other lady. She got fired for doing who knows what. I still don't even know what happened to her. But yeah, overall management, it was like kind of good and bad there. Like, you always have like the decent managers, and then you got the bad ones. But the fact that like the bad ones kind of overruled the good ones, that's where it's like, I don't know if I'm gonna put up with this job. Yeah, this video was longer than I expected it to be, and I'm tired as fuck. So yeah, that was my experience dealing with bad management. I'm definitely gonna have more story times coming, because life is lifing right now. So adios.